Congratulate you with a great album. I just listened to it. It's awesome. Great. I guess it's been a while since you actually recorded the album. Did you have time to reflect on it? And if so, did it turn out the way you expected it? Or
I don't know. I didn't really have any expectations, and every time I listened to anything at any point, I was really happy with it, which isn't always the case. Sometimes as the songs are a work in progress, you know it'll be good at the end, but it goes through different periods of arranging and recording where it's not happening. But this record wasn't like that. It's very much it was all written sort of all of us in a room live, except for the lyrics, which I did later, or in the middle of. But I did it alone at home, and all the songs were really arranged in a live setting. Like if there's a guitar solo, there's no rhythm guitars, there's bass. So it's very simple that way. It's very much approached like an older rock record, and I think that made it really easy to tell what it was going to be like the whole way. But none of us really went in with any particular expectations as to what the band would sound like, because we'd never been a band before. I think a lot of people sort of just assumed that it would sound like Rage Against the Machine with me singing or something, but none of us ever felt that it would be that way at all.
you didn't feel any pressures from the press to where there were terms like supergroup thrown around and stuff like that, to where and people were like you said, afraid of thinking it was going to be Rage Against the Machine Phase 2.
Yeah, don't take this personally, but I rarely consider the press in any part of my life.
No, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Can you tell me in short how Audioslave actually came together?
I had talked to Tom over a period of a couple of years on and off about different things. He was doing a song for a movie one time, and I was busy, so I couldn't work with him. He was talking about doing a solo record, and at the time it didn't seem like something I wanted to do. But that sort of got the ball rolling where we had talked to each other, and I knew he was interested in working with me on something. And I had really been thinking that I would just be making solo records, and I'd had a lot of really varied offers to do different things with other people. But when Rage ended and Tom was talking about doing a new band, it just seemed to me like it just felt on a gut level like what a great thing to do. I can make solo records whenever, but I'm not always going to have the opportunity to have a band like this, So really, we had one meeting, I think, before we went into a room and started writing, and they didn't go through, as people thought, they didn't go through like an audition process with people or anything. I just, I agreed to meet with them and play music, went there, and we liked it, and I liked it. And I think I was really the first one that just said, well, let's just be a band. And having said that, they, I think, had to come to grips with the fact that, because I was very outspoken about it not being Rage Against the Machine, and they didn't want it to be either, because it wasn't I'm not going to get up and rap old rock songs. That's not going to happen. And they didn't feel that way either. That wasn't something they expected. So within a couple of days, we decided that would be our focus, and that we would be a band. And we wrote so many songs so quickly that kind of, to me, has always been what constitutes a band. If you're sitting in a room and you're writing songs, you're a band. So it just kind of happened really quickly.
Was it hard for you to come in a situation where the other band members actually were playing together and kind of knew each other for numerous years?
I thought that it might be before I met them, but actually when I first walked in, the first time I met Timmy and Brad, I completely turned around, because I realized, wow, rather than a band forming with a bunch of people who've never played together, I'm working with three people that already know how to play with each other really well.
Yeah.
And that, I think, made a lot of the process a lot more fun and a lot better. We were writing new songs. They already know how to play with each other in that context. The music was very different than what they'd done before, but it still ended up being, I think, a really good thing.
When you guys came together, did you take a fresh approach, or were there old ideas you had laying on the shelf that you brought in?
I think everything was brand new.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Also, if you have to believe the press, it seemed that Audioslave kind of endured like a difficult birth with the on and off stories. Mm-hmm. If there was any transition period, was that a difficult one, or?
The biggest problem we ran into was that because we were two separate entities, we brought together two separate record contracts, two separate record companies, two separate management companies, two separate lawyers and law firms, and it was very difficult on the business end to feel like we were being represented as a group, because we really weren't. We were being represented as two separate entities that are doing a project, and that wasn't how any of us wanted this to be. We wanted this to be a band in every way, and it made it especially irritating to me that the band got along so great. We were so prolific right away. We were really feeling so great and so confident about what we were doing, but we were getting really nothing but negatives from the business side of it that are representing us, just in their inability, I think, to work together. And Sony and Epic and Interscope actually came to some agreements on how to deal with it pretty quickly, but the management companies weren't getting along. And when we would sit in a room and talk business, and I understand why this would happen. My manager really was there representing me, and their managers were really there representing them, because at the end of the day, that's what their job is. But it just didn't work. So at some point, we had been a band for a really long time. We'd had songs for a very long time, and we didn't even know what the record sounded like yet. And we're already starting to be pressured to agree to a tour and get the ball rolling. And for me, it was too much pressure.
Yeah.
I'd just come from making a solo record and basically doing whatever the hell I wanted, and I started to feel nothing against the band, but that I'm going to step back for a while because this is too much for me. So the first thing we really did was we started listening to the songs, and everyone got really excited. And then we went and interviewed new managers, and that was a huge moment. The fact that we could walk into a room as a band and all meet someone new for the first time. We felt like a band, and that solved really, I think, all of our problems.
Listening to the album, it sounds to me very fresh and very diverse. I mean, Rage Against the Machine used to be, they had a great groove, and all the songs were kind of going that way. Of course, you with Soundgarden, your solo stuff, it was very diverse all along. Do you think with you coming into this band, or starting this band with these guys, that it allowed the guys to actually experiment more musically? Because they had a guy that could, have a big vocal range, could go up and down, and basically could lay out a lot of emotions in the songs.
Yeah, like I said before, I didn't really know what to expect. The first couple of songs, I would leave the room with a guitar and write a bridge part and come back, and there would be, or a key change or something that would be more like something that I would do. But not writing the entire song, it felt very fresh to me. And the collaboration worked from the first day. I went into a room, wrote a bridge part for the first song we wrote, and they played it, and it wasn't like something they were used to, but they really liked it. And once that spark came on, it's like, okay, we can be our own band and do this differently. Then after that, it just started to come really easy.
Yeah. After your solo album, which was basically more mellow and melodic than what you did with Soundgarden, was this kind of also a thing to explore your harder side again with some of the songs, like Set It Off? Or
yeah, I actually felt very much like with Soundgarden, I wrote a lot of the music and a lot of harder riff stuff. And when I made my solo record, I really was tired of that. I had a lot of other stuff musically to explore. In this band, most of the riffs came from Tom or Timmy, and it was more inspiring to write over because it was somebody else doing it, not me or people I'd worked with for a long time. And I wasn't sure how fresh that would feel to me, especially in terms of phrasing and melodies. But I just was immediately inspired by it, and it felt great to play more aggressive music again for a while. I always go up and down.
Yeah.
But the other really big difference, which you mentioned earlier about the groove, Soundgarden had a lot of time signature changes, and a lot of 3/4 stuff, or 6/4, 7/4, or 5/4 in the middle of a 4/4. One of the first conversations I had with Tom was that he was very much a player that likes a groove and straight 4 timing, and that's made a lot of difference for me, because I've never done that with a body of work where there's just a constant groove that's very simple, and it allows me as a singer to have more freedom.
Yeah, but it amazed me how different they played. Like in songs like Getaway Car, I Am the Highway, that it brings out stuff. You say they came out with the riffs. It seemed like those were kind of songs that more came from you, and they adapted to it so good. But
yeah, I think that once we got over a couple of days and a few songs where we got into a little mellower melodic style and it worked, then they really all came to the table with different stuff. And I think that they probably had a really prolific moment doing music that they'd never done before in Rage, which I understand totally.
Yeah.
It was in them all the time, obviously.
Yeah. How was it to work with Rick Rubin? Because you hear he most of the time, from the stories you hear from other artists, he's kind of laid back, not really gets too involved with it. How was your experience with recording with Rick Rubin?
My experience was that he was involved in every aspect, every step of the way, even all the way up to finishing the record. He still has opinions about what songs, in what order you should play live, what the sequence is on the record, everything. So, I don't know how he is with other people. This is the first time I worked with him, but he was involved heavily in pre-production and arranging all the way through to still being involved. It's so comprehensive. I don't know that I've heard of another producer being this involved, unless it's like a boy band where they actually pick the songs, pick the players, pick everything.
Yeah, everything. How is it with your experiences with the last Soundgarden record? You guys produced it yourselves. Was there something you brought to the table? Is it you feel more comfortable working with someone or doing it yourselves after have done both?
Well, it's a lot of work to do it yourself. I initially didn't want to self-produce that Soundgarden record. The rest of the guys in the band thought it would be a good idea, and now I'm really glad that we did it, because first of all, I think the last record was the most fun we all had in the studio, because it was really ours. Everyone was there all the time, and I think it turned out great. But also, having worked with producers before, I never really let them do their job, because I usually didn't trust them. Generally, we did it more or less so that the record company would feel like we were in good hands, and then by the third day I would stonewall them so hard that they would stop even giving us any suggestions, and they would just record the record. With Rick, he is very much into the live approach when it comes to recording, and this band is very much that type of band, and so to me it seemed like a perfect fit. And I also felt like I had been so involved with every aspect of Soundgarden, and then also with my solo record, everything, that I was ready to let go of the reins and let somebody else do their job. Had it not been Rick, I don't know if I would have done that, but I really felt like it's time for me to see what it's like to let everyone do their job. And I knew in the back of my mind that if I did that, the results would be great. Because I'm just, concerned about what I bring to it, and not concerned about what everyone else does, because I know they're all going to show up and do what they need to do and do the best that they can do.
Yeah.
And this band has a really strong work ethic, and they're all really motivated, and that's great.
Vocal-wise, you always love to use your voice and create harmonies and stuff, which worked out great. And also on this record, I heard a couple of times. Is that stuff you know before you actually lay the track down how it's supposed to be, or is the end result of lots of experimentation in the studio?
Well, it's both. Every time I make a record, I have all of the experience that I had previously. The last 3 or 4 Soundgarden records, as well as my solo record, I did most of the vocals alone, in a room by myself. I just ran the board, and this record I didn't do it that way. But I experimented a lot. I know how to get different sounds that I want, and but then again, while I'm doing it, new ideas will come up. On this record, I think there was a couple of songs where, when I went in to record, I changed everything. I changed the vocal melody, changed the lyrics, changed everything, just at the last minute, because I just wasn't excited about what I was doing, and I would call Rick, who wasn't even there, and say, I'm going to try something else, and then I would sing it and send it to him and the rest of the band, and that's always happened to me. I could spend 4 days writing the lyrics for one song, go to sing it, realize it's garbage, rewrite it in 10 minutes, and be thrilled with it. I've always been pretty open to just whatever works, whatever is inspiring. I don't really have any specific methods.
I wanted to touch the song Chokies. I heard it's about the chief. Are the lyrics that were, or was it pure the title that was?
It's just the title.
It's just the title.
I think the song, the feel of the song musically and vocally reminded Tom of Cochise's life, and I often like a sort of a detached title or a title that kind of is something reminiscent of the feel, but it's not trying to tell you what the song is about. I think that's just something I think that's better sometimes. It's more creative, it's left field, but yeah, the lyrics aren't really, they're not pointed or anything about Cochise. It'd be very different.
Yeah. Well, it was for them. Was it kind of a release for them to kind of drop the political side of things and have you come in with more personal lyrics? Was that a change that affected the music too? You think?
I don't know how it affected the music. My first conversations with Tom before I even met the rest of the band was that myself as a writer, I'm not inspired by coming in with politically motivated ideas. It's not what I do. And they were all very open to that. And it feels to me at this point like they feel very free from that in terms of how it sort of binds you into one category and forces you to sort of have to do one thing. But it was never much of an issue. We really, everyone took it, for what it would end up being and didn't try to make it anything. Just let's see what happens. And it started happening so fast that, we didn't get in the way of ourselves.
Look, if you hear the CD, would you agree that it kind of combines all the elements of what you guys have done in the past separate, and then in the band it kind of comes together? Because when I hear the songs, I hear elements of your solo stuff, elements of Rage Against the Machine, and some elements of Soundgarden, and it all kind of blends together and creates this fresh new approach.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think, that is a really natural thing, a natural progression. We're all bringing parts of who we are and what our histories are to the table and creating something new. We had, like I said before, no specific plan as to what we should sound like, and that was pretty exciting because often, when a band starts and when they come together, they're usually really young. They don't have much experience with songwriting. They make a lot of mistakes before they start doing things well. So it takes a while, but you sort of discover and rediscover who you are as a band until you decide what you really want to sound like. With us, we had all the experience in the world, and so we discovered what we sounded like very quickly because we didn't make those mistakes. We just suddenly had a body of work that we were really excited about, and that became who we were.
Okay. We're talking now about a full band, so we can also expect a tour.
Absolutely.
Will this mean your solo stuff will be on the back burner for a while, or is
I'm really happy with being in this band right now. So we hope to make more records and tour and be a real band. We've been through a lot already, having not even put out a record.
Yeah, I know.
And that brings you closer together.
Yeah.
Nothing like a little drama to make a band a real band.
As an 11 fan, I have to ask, any future collaborations maybe in the future with Ellen and Natasha?
No, I have no plans to do anything but this right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.